see you here. Thank you very much for coming along. I've just got a PowerPoint coming up behind me, so patience with that. I was hoping tonight could be quite interactive as well, so if you've got questions, want to contribute your own thoughts, please, you're welcome to put your hand up, say something, whatever like that. The topic of self-empowerment, I think, is something very, close to my own heart, but I think close to everyone's heart as well, because to really enjoy our lives, we want to have some level of individual empowerment, and I think for most people we can identify different ways that we've actually given our power away to other people or to situations. And for me, a spiritual path is about identifying those and then drawing back my personal power where it was supposed to be in the first place, which is with me. But it's very much a journey of my own for you guys, so it's good. Did you explain you can't pull the USB out?
No.
It's still
Okay, if you want, you can.
So actually I was preparing this afternoon, and it's enjoyable just to, because I'm focusing on what I've called laws, partly because I'm playing on the fact that professionally I've worked as a lawyer, but also because there's a sense in which there are certain realities or truths about our lives that aren't human constructed, and if we think it's human constructed and we ram ourselves against it, what breaks? If it's outside of our control, beyond us, and we push on it, we're the ones who will break. So it's that we can actually discriminate. There's certain rules to play this game, and meditation alone is not enough. What are the rules that the game runs on? Because I need to understand that and adjust my internal dialogue, the way I look at life, to match those rules. If my set of rules is different from reality, what's going to happen with this law? So how to play the game. And then meditation is that tool that allows me to check inside that do my rules, does my way of looking at things match reality, or actually have I got a mismatch inside? And then what do I do when I find that there's a mismatch? Actually, I was approaching the situation in a particular way. I was seeing things in a certain way, and it's not that way. There's something I've missed in there. And if anyone's like a PowerPoint expert, I think some of these things have got to, you can teach me afterwards. I have a double transition. So if we don't play by the rules and take that responsibility, my power comes back to me. All the way that I'm saying that situations, people have power over me, I lose my power, I lose my inner strength. So if we never play by the rules, people won't want to play with us either. Does anyone know anyone in their life who doesn't play by the rules? And so when you play with them, forgive this metaphor of play, but it's the easiest one to deal with. If you play with them, you'll get hurt, or you'll end up feeling like, but why am I responsible for that problem in your life? Do I have to fix that? Why are they pushing it onto me? Energy's going in the wrong direction because I'm trying to feed something in the wrong way. I'm addressing the symptoms and not the actual root cause of the problem. So if I'm always working at that level of symptoms, applying band-aids to things, but the wound is still bleeding inside, I'm not making that kind of change. I think they might all do that, so you just get, really line those points. So we break it down into 4 laws. One is the law of perception, the law of cause and effect, the law of contribution, and the law of attraction. So I'll go through and spend some time on each one so it's sort of nice and clear and logical. 4 key points that I'll underline. So live by these 4 laws and you'll master the game of life. What do people see? Who saw something to drink out of first, and who saw human faces? Who saw something to drink out of? Anyone saw something to drink out of?
Faces.
No one saw something to drink out of. Do you see something to drink out of? Okay, that's one did. And who saw faces first?
Faces.
Yeah. And sometimes you can't see the other until something to drink out of, and you go, oh, I get it, I see a cup. There's lots of far more exciting ones than this as well. But the point is just that it's perception. Different ways of looking at things. And sometimes you can't even see the other way of looking at it until someone actually tells you what's there. There's some really clever ones. Not actually a question of whether someone's right or not. It's a question of inside, do I kind of walk with that extra pride that I'm right? Do I actually have to shove it down someone's throat when I was right and make a point of the fact that, I had to make sure they really knew that I'm right, or that I could have let it slide and just not said anything, but I made sure that I pointed that out. Or there was something that was taking place, and then afterwards I'm like, I'm going to go and Google that, I'm going to check it, there's no way, and then I'll ring them, I just checked, Googled it, you're wrong. It's like, you can see that thing is working inside. We have to be right. Why? Actually, it's my own jail. I'm trapping myself in there. And it stems from this fact that I don't accept that there's more than one way of looking at things. There was a nice quote that I was reading on this subject that was something to the effect of, why is it that when we have an argument and we get down to the sort of the baseline and say, oh, well, I just agree that, we'll agree to disagree. You think what you think, I think what I think, we agree with. And then if we step beyond this life, how much more is there? Meaning that, do we carry things in our subconscious minds that are part of a history that we don't even know about, let alone a history that we do know about, whether we can remember that history anyway. So there's so much inside that forms each one of us that makes us so different. How could we possibly think that our ways of looking at things should be the same? It's illogical, but that's what we fall into. I'm not sure if that's why people love to have a pet, but that perception aspect is so important. How we see ourselves and how others see us ends up formulating so much of who we think are, and we derive a sense of value or self-worth based on those perceptions. And in many ways, meditation don't come up as much because they've picked up good beliefs about themselves, but other people who haven't had that fortune or opportunity and have picked up negative things in their life, but how do they change that programming as well? Because each of us is carrying a programming. I would actually suggest that both sets of programming aren't really worth having, because generally if it's good, it's still just going to be someone else's perception, and I still need to find a place inside where I'm not dependent on other people's perception. That what was my actual intention, and judging myself based on knowing my own intentions and being clear about who I am. This is a very sort of, Newton's Cradle. People know Newton's Cradle, where when this guy gets dropped, he'll hit here, and the force will travel through those other people, and this one on the end will pop up. The idea being that it's not always visibly obvious how the force has been transmitted in terms of what's happening in our lives. But there are forces that move things that are behind the scenes that are based on cause and effects. And if I just look on the materialistic surface, I'll see things in a certain way. But if I think about it from a spiritual perspective, I may see things in a different way. That there's still cause and effect taking place. And it's very much to do with my own empowerment. Because one way that we majored in Australia in the legs, there's a whole sequence of all the different assembly transport here and there that made the chair there. Yet when it comes to social things, spiritual things, where it's like, it's just random, it just happened for no reason. It's inconsistent. So the second law of self-empowerment, whatever energy emanates from me will get returned to me. And whatever's returning to me now is because it emanated from me in the past. It's inherently empowering for me to believe this, to understand and look at life like this, because I'm not putting myself as a victim of the things which are happening in my life. I'm seeing that there's actually a connection that took place. I may not be aware of the detail, like I can be aware of the detail with the chair and actually say that this is where the legs came from, this is where the cushion came from, it was assembled by, she must really be stewing about that, because I will be. And so I keep pushing that reality on her. Or it might be a mirror for me, and I don't like you as a person because that makes me angry, and the fact that you don't get angry is teaching me something about myself, and I don't want to know it, because it's a mirror for me. I could actually respond with like positive, useful emotions when I'm all stewed up and whatever about it, so we step away from those people. So I don't know the story of how the feelings I'm carrying inside actually came into being, but I'm living with them, and they're affecting my decision making, they're a part of me. Good. So internally I'm actually visualising my own success. That I move towards that task in a positive way, thinking, yeah, it's going to be good, it'll be good. More likely than not, the outcome will be good. If the outcome's not good, I might say, yeah, it's just bad luck. But next time it will be fine because I've done it before. It's self-fulfilling prophecy, and I keep on moving with that. The negative one is also a self-fulfilling prophecy. I can't do this. I'm no good. I'm never any good at this. Last time I did it, I sucked. I'll suck again. I always suck. And then when I do it with that low feeling, there's a really good chance that I will suck. And what happens if I don't suck? It was a fluke. I do suck. I just got lucky, right? Because I'm a loser. That's what I do. I suck and I lose at stuff. So either way, it's like I'm going to get confirmation of the reality I'm carrying inside, and I'll use the circumstances, ways that we contribute and participate. Thoughts, words, actions, but then just as important, my awareness. This word, because there's not really an English equivalent, but the explanation is basically all of us are emanating vibes all the time. Vibes are coming out of our eyes, and we all know it because we have this expression that someone looked daggers at me. What were daggers? And if they didn't actually have a tangible existence, why did you feel it in your back when you weren't looking? They're real, and it's energy that transmits, and the eyes are like the windows to the soul. So it's just a more subtle level that we're not necessarily that conscious of because we don't practice being attentive to it. Anything that we don't practice being attentive to can cease to exist for us. But just because it doesn't exist for me anymore doesn't mean it doesn't actually exist. It's just my attention has gone elsewhere. Even thoughts can be a bit like that, right? When we don't meditate for ages, it's like we lose that attention. They just, no matter what, they don't like to give to respect someone just cheaply. Means they make people earn it. And it's not necessarily bad. People can earn respect. But if you can't just show basic respect to people, you'll actually also burn lots of bridges or have rough relationships. Because people like to feel respected. They like to be shown a sense that they actually have value. If my baseline mode of interaction is that people don't have value, then that will reciprocate to me as well. If my baseline mode of operation is that everyone has intrinsic and inherent value, because they're a spiritual being. They're part of my human family. They have good qualities. We're all children of the same God. Whatever it is that you can use inside to help you understand that works for you, it's good because we build an attitude that gives respect to people. then naturally what will people feel towards us? Respect. And we want that, whether we admit it or not. I feel it's a part of the human relationship, but we just don't pay a lot of attention to it, but it's very meaningful. And for us, awareness is really broken down into two things that we'll look at later on. Am I just aware of my materialistic form, or am I aware of myself as a spiritual being, a being of light? And what's my attitude towards others? Because when my attitude towards others is they're also a spiritual being, I'll feel that. There's a good vibe behind that. Practice it the next time that you're having a difficult relationship with someone. Try and program it into your mind right now that when you're having a really crap interaction, tomorrow, Saturday, whatever, just have the thought instead that they're also a spiritual being. They've got good qualities inside inherently. I might not be seeing it now, but they do. And think that you're seeing it living inside, looking out through the eyes. The eyes are the windows, I'm seeing the soul. That interaction will change within 30 seconds just by doing that. Try it. And if it does change, how valuable is that? Is something to learn and take home. Get dosed by the universe. Actually, if I do feel I'm starting to get dosed by the universe, the best thing I can do is keep planting seeds, sowing things that are going to make sure tomorrow is better than today. Whether I chuck the towel and have a tantrum and do other things, then I'm actually sowing seeds that are going to make tomorrow difficult as well. And we know that. If you have a bad interaction with someone that does get really difficult, and then you meet them again the next day, what's the first kind of feeling? It's like, I don't want to meet you, right? It doesn't feel comfortable. If I see them coming, I'm like, oh, I'm going that way. Because I've created that. I sowed it, suck it up, eat it. That's the fruit. But if I can change that, it's going to help me. I like that. And different things will take different periods of time to develop or ripen. It's a very sort of age-old example. But so often we try and push things to develop in the time frames. There's that movie, The Secret. There's so many things that have popularised the law of attraction. So I'm just going to spend a tiny bit of time on it. But what's in the way is the way. The things that are in my life that I'm resisting or don't want are actually good for me. They are there for a reason. They are the reason. Because the law of attraction is this concept that actually I draw into my life, the situations and circumstances I need to move forward and grow. So it's sort of, resistance is futile. Accept them and work around them. So some of our favourite things to do instead are like retreat, hide, withdraw, bury my head in the sand. But it creates Groundhog Day. That if I try that, those things will just keep on attracting into my life again and again. Because I'm not learning the lesson, I'm not making the internal change that I need to make to kind of like move up to the next level. To take myself out of the repeats. And it's also nice, I personally enjoy just, what do other groups, we can make assumptions based on that limited perspective, not knowing where the soul's been before, what actions they've performed in the past, and then having our own limited perception and judgments about the current situation of someone, the current circumstances, rather than a bigger picture which we're not aware of. But it's one of those other human frailties that connected to thinking we're right, is that limited picture that we look at, we think that it's definitely the picture. And even in secular society, it's very common, right? What goes around comes around, people will say. Same idea. Or creative or metaphorical, same thing. Whatever I do is going to follow me around. Everyone commits an excess excess of repression, he does so against his own self, that it's going to come back on us. Ways that we try and actually disempower ourselves. And if there's one thing we really love, is disempowering ourselves in different ways. Because it's really comfortable. Our comfort zone is built on the disempowered. There's something very convenient and friendly about sleeping under that blanket. We don't want to, but we also want to. It's nice, it's familiar, it's our friend. And these mirrors are perception. Am I prepared to accept and be regularly challenged that the way I think about the world and look at things isn't necessarily the only way of looking at things? Causation. Do I think that just the limited perspective that I hold as to how things got caused in my life is the only perspective? Often we're just looking on the surface and there's a whole deeper story behind it. Participation. Do I pull out, withdraw, back off, retreat, hide from being part of society, engaged in life, because it's more comfortable and convenient than having mirrors thrown in my face all the time? So it's a little bit like a spectrum, and in many ways I think my own personal journey has been slowly moving from here to here. Before I came across these sorts of ideas, I was very happily and deeply embedded in this perspective. It was really comfortable. Everything else is responsible, people are to blame. It's my parents' fault for the way they raised me, it's my friends' fault for being bad influences. It's the fault of drinking too much that I can't study, it's the fault of whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you can always pin it on something. But the more we're on a spiritual journey, it's like, how can I get out of that jail and follow the laws so that I actually can take personal responsibility for what's happening in my life? So that is connected to the tight grip that the consciousness of the body has on us. We've convinced ourselves, and we've got feelings and experiences recorded inside of us, that I'm just a body. Just because they're feelings and experiences doesn't mean it's the only reality. Actually, I'm the spiritual being that created the reality of the beliefs and feelings of being the body. But I can also detach from the body and get a whole new set of experiences of being a spiritual being inside this physical body. And it awakens a whole different set of beliefs or internal views. So in body conscious, I'm just a product of my circumstances. It's even the fault of my DNA and my genes that caused my life. I have that little personal responsibility that I'm completely controlled, rather than I'm a product of my choices. Well, my circumstances are dictated to me. I was born into this family, it had to be this way. Again, it's their fault. Whereas I've chosen my circumstances. These things I've drawn into my life to help me grow, to help me move forward. I chose them. Everyone, everything is to blame in my life versus personal responsibility, like the arrow we saw earlier. I'm a victim. I am powerful. I am weak, or one thing, and then there's consequential beliefs. And so in some ways this is why it's the worst lesson to teach, because the implications are quite substantial for that kind of view. So it's a view that there's no accidents in life. There's no victims. There's no human being who's a victim of another human being. There's cause and effect relationships, but there aren't victims. If I don't want to be one, I can't make others victims as well. It doesn't add up, right? If I'm not a victim, other people also aren't victims. It doesn't mean I don't love people. It doesn't mean I'm not a compassionate person. Actually, if you make someone a victim, there's nothing compassionate about that. It's a very hurtful thing to do. It's like saying, you're so useless that you're at people in a way that's going to be positive for tomorrow. And I can't control anyone else. Each person's on their own spiritual journey. I can control my journey in that sense, but each other person's journey in their own journey. For a temporary period you might be able to exert influence on them, but at some point to the extent that you try and control them, you'll get a blowback eventually. It's just a matter of time. You know what I mean? You'll regulate their behaviour for a while, but if you're doing it by force, eventually there'll be a kickback on that and it will create a massive upheaval. That's one of the favourite things that my old clients used to do. Because so many dependent relationships result in family violence, because eventually it's been, that dependency there for so long, and eventually it has to break out, it can't stay like that. And the invisible currency of human relationships, actually it's the blessings, the love, the goodwill between us that has a value. External things, material things, I feel, don't really have value. We wrongly give them value in body consciousness, thinking that they hold inherent value. But if you're the richest person in the world with the biggest yacht, a really big house, the car that caught in a different form of that negative cycle that we looked at earlier, based on a whole heap of false beliefs. And suffering is a result of ignorance, not understanding or seeing the bigger picture. If we really change our outlook and adopt a spiritual attitude, it changes suffering. The mental anguish we experience inside is primarily caused by our inability to accept circumstances. Is it a fair comment? Do people agree? The time it takes us to reach that point of acceptance, even if someone is going through the experience of being diagnosed with a critical illness or being told that they actually only have 3 months to live, if you go through the psychological steps that they go through to reach the final point of acceptance, it's our ability to try and reach that point of acceptance that determines so many things. So our suffering is to the extent, until we reach acceptance, we suffer. The challenge is coming to me from that unknown past clearing. Things have happened in the past. We attract circumstances into our life to resolve the past that we don't know. It's not bad. I'm not a victim. It's helping me heal and move forward. As applies to me, so applies to others as well. So I also have an empowered attitude and outlook towards others. That they're also healing, resolving the past that they've got. So I don't construct a world of victims anymore. So our world, I would say, is in a darkness of ignorance. And there's a spiritual foundation. People often use science to justify their own disempowerment. By thinking in a materialistic way, we can create beliefs and attitudes that actually just keeps us stuck spiritually, so we can't grow and move forward, holding on to the idea that I'm right. So that, I think, is the become aware of my breath. I start to concentrate on taking deep breaths in. As I breathe in, I use my mind's eye.
start at the feet. And I'm going to relaxing. And my attention's on the shoulders. I feel the shoulders lowering. I let go of all the tension in the shoulders, they drop. Just completely let them go. Turn off and relax the neck, the head, turning off all the muscles in the face, let it go. Turning off the eyes, the forehead, all the muscles release. The more I visualize this tiny star, I feel that peace coming into me. Just as the body relaxed, this tiny star is relaxing my mind. As I visualize an energy of peace, a lightness in my mind's eye. And it's like my mind is searching for the source, the essential point that the star shines from. The source of that peace and light. I become aware of the sound of the rain outside.